Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining us on today's Sword Talks broadcast, the show that talks all things blades. I'm your host, Arwen Kester, creator and executive director of MiddleEarthNews.com. And with me, I have three very special guests, Rob Runacres, Tees Koo, and Ronan. Hey, guys.
Howdy.
Hi.
Hey, good evening.
Thanks so much for joining us. We've already had a few laughs off air. We've had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we are going with it. And, it's Saturday, so whatever. We're just going to have fun. We're here to talk all things blades, swords. I was going to say something and introduce the show with something like, we talk all things cheesecake, and see what everyone did. But then I was like, nah, I won't, but, cheesecake's good. Anyways, let's start off and kind of introduce everyone as far as what groups you're with, your projects and things like that. I hear some tales of some exciting events coming up. So, Rob, why don't we start with you?
Okay. My name's Rob Runacres. I'm the chief instructor of a small new group called Comolitium Historical Fencing, and we are based in Surrey, in the United Kingdom. And we have coming up in early September something called 2 Days of the Blade, which myself and a guy called Dave Rawlins, and he's from another club, the London Longsword Academy. We're doing basically a 2-day event, hence the name, where we're concentrating on various aspects of sword fighting from the 17th century.
That's awesome. So 2 days event, and are you guys you're hosting that event or you're attending that event?
We'll be hosting that event. Yeah.
Wow,
so on
that's
the first
exciting.
day we've got Dave's doing something quite special on the Saturday. He's got a treatise from a notable figure of the 17th century, which has just been worked upon, and it's the first public interpretation of this martial form.
Wow.
And on the second day, I'll be teaching a new style of rapier and dagger to the attendees there. So it's very much split down the middle, but we think it will be pretty cool for people.
That's awesome. Now, is this the first time you've done an event like this, or have you guys done it in the past?
It's the first time we've done a joint event together. We have both taught at the same events, and we've both done lots of events for teaching workshops on all sorts of things. Dave is a very well-reputed longswordist. He also teaches a form of rapier by a guy called Gérard Thibault, and also by an Italian gentleman by the name of Salvatore Fabris, who I also teach. He also is quite famous for doing some of the most extensive 133 sword and buckler interpretations. Wow. For myself, I teach various forms of rapier, generally Italian, so usually late 16th through to the late 17th century, when the rapiers change in shape and form. I also teach a form of a martial form of Bolognese swordsmanship, for which there will no doubt be humorous jokes from my colleagues about Bolognese sauces and stuff like that. That'd be good. But this is something that came from North Italy in the throughout the whole of the 16th century, and that's a very interesting form to teach as well.
That's awesome. Very exciting. That's cool. What about you, Tees?
I'm training with the AMEC, the Academy for Medieval European Martial Arts, and been doing that for over 10 years now.
Wow.
We mainly train with longsword, dagger, and wrestling, and apart from that, we do whatever we can, get our hands on, basically. So we have lessons in Dusak, sword and buckler. I myself study saber and rapier as well, if I have the time for it. And at the moment, we're very busy with our event, the ILHG, the International Lowlands HEMA Gathering. That's the whole mouthful.
Yeah.
Will be the 6th, 7th, and 8th of September, and it's 1 day of our Great Amsterdam tour and 2 days of tournaments and workshops.
Good grief. So you guys are also behind that whole event. Have you guys done that before, or is this the first time?
This first time we do it this size, this internationally. We have done more national events, but this is the first time we do it this big and international.
Wow. So if someone wanted to attend that event, how would they get in touch with you?
Very easy. We have a website, www.ilhg.nl, since we're based in the Netherlands.
Right.
So ilhg.nl, and it will give you all the information you need.
Great, great. And what about you, Ronan?
Hi, I train with AADG, that's Academia Artis din Pretoria. We're based in Ljubljana, Slovenia, and well, we've been going on since 2007, and we're very strong on German martial tradition. I think it's happening all around. That the long sword is still #1, well, used to be, until Rob came by with his rapier. No, but we're also doing the dagger, and we started with the classical rapier and the military saber of the 19th century. We are currently preparing for our national event organized by the HEMA Federation of Slovenia, and it will happen in Celje on the 21st and 22nd of September. We're introducing about a dozen instructors, and we'll already have applicants from 9 European countries.
Wow, that's awesome. Real quick, we're getting some messages about feedback. Remember, if you're not talking to, remember to mute your mics. That way, we're not getting this constant feedback. Yeah, we were laughing at the beginning of the before we went live on broadcast, because I was telling the guys that I've started my German longsword classes, and holy crap, am I sore at the day after. Good grief, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. It's been lots of fun, but then Rob was joking with me because he said, "So when are you going to start training with a real weapon?" And I was like, "Hey."
Well, the funny thing on that is something I've really found. The more I do rapier, the more I talk to longsworders, particularly I'm chatting to teasers all the time, is how close many of the techniques are for the rapier with the longsword. I've seen this a lot with some groups in Bruges called the Halberdiers. They do a lot of rapier training to augment their longsword training. And it's one of the fascinating things I find about swordplay, that there are so many crossovers between disparate weapons. I mean, obviously the rapier is a superior weapon for a more sophisticated person. But, even longsword has some uses.
Even longsword. Slyly gets that in there. Everyone catch that? No, it's been really interesting learning this. The guy who runs the HEMA group in my area, so it's Triangle Sword Guild, and gosh, there's so much knowledge behind it, which I love. I'm a big fan of history. I'm one of those people that ends up watching History Channel stuff, or documentaries and things like that, versus the regular stuff on TV nowadays. I really find history fascinating, and so to be able to train with the sword and learn about its history, that's pretty cool. So I definitely, this is my starting out class, basically because it was the only time that I could go. But they offer all kinds of other things, so with the rapier, and I think there's also fencing ones, so I'd love to kind of branch out and try some other stuff too. It's pretty exciting. And on that note, I'd love to know how you guys first got involved. What was your inspiration behind, what was your fascination with the sword? How did you get involved? So, Teeve, let's start with you.
Alrighty, well, I've been doing many different types of sports, from field hockey to judo and all kinds of stuff. And I always had an interest in weapons in general. And then my mother actually found this article in a newspaper somewhere talking about a night in Haarlem. And I went there to have a look, and the first thing that I came in the hall, and it was this big guy, because our lead instructor is pretty big guy, and he handed me a sword. The first thing I got was a sword in my hands, like, try this, and that got me hooked, basically.
That's awesome.
So and then I joined trainings, and after a while I helped doing the warm ups and the cool downs, and then slowly did more and more teaching, and ended up being one of the instructors in the group. So.
Wow. So after all that, now that you have a lot of training, and I mean you're a trainer yourself, what is your particular favorite to work with? What do you like? What do you feel like you excel in most?
I don't really have one favorite. I like to get as much knowledge as possible. I'm best at wrestling, because that's also I've done judo for a while, so I'm really easy close up. But if someone can teach me something new, I'm hooked. So that's why I was in Finland for a while and did Bolognese swordsmanship with Ilkka Hartikainen, which is amazing stuff, because it's different. Of course, it has a lot of similarities, but to get someone to teach me something new. That's also why I started with rapier, because I had absolutely no knowledge about the weapon whatsoever, and I wanted to try it. And also, then if I join a tournament with a rapier, I also try to fight as much as a rapierist as possible, instead of long swordsman or dagger or wrestling or whatever. Because I think that's the cool thing, is that each of these weapons have a very different systems to it.
Right. So it's kind of a continual thing then for you, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. What about you, Roman?
Well, I started with the famous trio of the German traditions, the Ringen, dagger, and the longsword, and they do complement each other a lot. Something that you would find already in the written sources, but until we really tried it out, we basically had no idea that it's really so interconnected. However, a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I really started dabbling with the rapier. In not only the 17th century rapier, but predecessor, the end of 16th century, the urban fighting. That's pretty much similar to, actually very much in common with Bolognese swordsmanship, as Thies and Rob were talking about. But my source is Joachim Meyer, a German master, a German fighter, who actually was very clever about introducing an Italian weapon in the German system, in the German Kunst. So it's a really clever way of handing knowledge and passing knowledge on, to cascade it down. But I like it all, I must say. I mean, as long as it's HEMA, as long as it's this crowd and the sources and everything, I'm happy. It's heaven. It's cool.
That's awesome. How about you, Rob?
Well, basically, I wanted to be a musketeer since I was a kid, is that growing up reading that sort of literature, and my mum was very keen on sort of driving me down certain historical routes of the period. She was also far more keen that I got interested in the Norse myths rather than the Greek myths. So there was quite a brutal upbringing, really. She was very keen that I follow that, and much like these guys, I did a variety of sports, like sports fencing, martial arts of various forms. But it wasn't until I encountered a local group that I joined them some years back, worked my way up through them. I must mention them School of the Sword, and then started up my own thing in the school that I was at, and my interest was rapier, bringing that from this musketeer, this Errol Flynn type background. Also the side sword stuff, because it's very, very beautiful. But I also had to take a conscious choice that I was only going to follow a particular weapon form, because I really wanted to explore that very, very deeply, which is what I think most longsworders do, or many longsworders do as well, because they're such complete weapon systems. And for me, again, it's just a case of constant development, and talking to these guys and talking to other guys, talking to all weapon forms, and really trying to understand across the board the mechanics and the artistry of the weapons involved.
Definitely. I know I've said before in one of the other shows that I watched a documentary about, just kind of how the first shapes of swords, how they learned eventually, how to get the most out of what they could and everything. And it was just really fascinating to learn. I mean, how just, I guess, the design that and everything. I really did not know how much would go into that. So that's pretty cool, definitely. Do you guys have a favorite sword maker or sword that you enjoy training with? I mean, I know you talked about the different training you like, but what about the brand of sword? Anybody?
I've got a bunch of swords from Regenye, and so far I'm very happy with the swords. I have several other swords I bought through reenactment camps, but some of it is just hammer in the blade shape, and that doesn't train well. You screw up your wrists, and I know that through Regenye I can get pretty good stuff.
How about you, Rob?
Well, for me, it'd be a guy called Marco Donelli, who is down in Brighton. He's an Italian extraction, and he's made weapons that handle pretty much as close to what I'd really want from any training weapon. And again, he tends to, and he does make longswords, feathers. He tends to make side swords, back swords, and rapiers. And they're just beautiful. I mean, they're incredibly well made, incredibly well balanced. They're light and they're strong and they're responsive. So I think with smiths like him, some of the smiths you find in Europe, you end up having a conversation with them and really discovering what it is you want to do with the weapon, because I think something that a lot of people forget when they train with things is it's not like picking up a hammer, it's not like picking up a tool, though it is a tool. This is something that has to work with your body mechanic. This is something that you have to be able to move naturally with, and should be responsive to you and also react to you. So that's really very much what Marco does with his swords.
Awesome. How about you, Roman?
Well, after trying out a few Czech blades, several Czech producers, and one Regenye blade, which is very good, actually we focused on trying to help a local swordsmith to develop, a Slovenian guy, Kosticic. We try to give him feedback and we test his blades, and as I say, we try to invest a lot into him to help him develop into a decent, into a fine swords maker. So that's my focus at the moment.
It was funny, Rob, when you were saying, it really, you have to kind of, the weapon has to, definitely be a part of you. It's like an extension of your arm. And I mean, in the classes that I've taken recently, oh my gosh, from a person who is just getting into this and seeing, the amazing swordsmiths and people that have trained with the sword, and it looks so easy. They make it look so easy, and they're just so graceful with all the moves and everything. And I'm trying to do all these things, and wow, I had no idea it's a lot more to it, and it definitely takes a lot of of thought and I don't know. I just with the steps that you have to take, and with where you position your body and where your form and everything, it's just so much more than I ever thought it was, which is awesome. Because I just, my respect for you all and for those that have been, are everyone that just knows, are well trained. I have so much respect for that now. Definitely, it has grown. Oh, I think you're muted, Rob. It's all right.
I was just wondering if Tees could say something about Rory, actually, because you're talking about fantastic fighters with immense grace, and of course this is something that's very special for the AMIC event this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we had one of our guys, Rory van Noort. He trained with us for several years, and he turned out quickly to be one of the better swordsmen that was around. He won all the events he went to, all the tournaments, and the cool thing is that he was a sportsman. He because I talk in the past in the how do you call that? The past tense. Because end of last year he took his own life. He went away from us.
Oh no.
And yeah, it's still very very close for us all. And he is actually one of the reasons why we wanted to organize our event this year, because we had plans for it, in the upcoming years, and the whole event is dedicated to him. Which is also why our tournaments, we have several, are called the Rory van Noort Memorial Open Longsword or Memorial Invitational Longsword tournaments. And because he was one of the guys, he was a great sportsman, great fighter. He could do whatever if you gave him a weapon and showed him something, he could do it. He could pull it off.
Yeah.
But he was also very kind. He was whenever he hit someone, he'd always ask if someone was alright, because swords do hurt some once in a while, and he'd always be careful. Whenever he had the feeling he had hit too hard, he would come after the fight to the fighter to apologize or to ask if it was fine, which usually was fine because he didn't hit that hard. But he was very in that sense very special, and he's also a great example for me, because he really looked at it from a sportsman point of view. So apart from only training with a sword, there's much more you can do to improve your skills as a swordsman. You can talk about fitness, you can talk about cardio, you can talk about explosiveness training. There's much more you can do besides just waving the weapon around. And he really went to a different direction than a lot of people were going, and but sadly enough, he thought it necessary to leave us.
That's
we'll be fighting in his honor.
Definitely.
And I think that's one of the real positive things, if anything can be said, anything positive about it, is how the whole of the AMIC group are carrying on, really to continue the work that he was doing. And he was a beautiful fighter to watch, really, really good. So I think it's huge kudos to AMIC to really do something for in Rory's memory.
Right. Yeah, definitely. That was I know one of the things that Glacier Films wanted to do with Reclaiming the Blade Days was kind of a tribute to Bob Anderson, one of the great legends of, he was, obviously he trained, Hollywood actors and things like that, but there's a lot to that as well. And, it's really amazing to see the impact that these people, and the mark that they leave on us personally and on others, and how they've inspired, people to continue and to pursue and to, go beyond what has been, accomplished, and to, kind of look beyond that. So that is definitely, that is a sad and tragic story, but at the same time, it can also be, what you guys are doing is definitely inspiring, for sure. But I also want to take a moment to mention that the Kickstarter for Reclaiming the Blade, Sons of Fire, so that would be the second film, the sequel to Reclaiming the Blade, the Glacier Films' first film. The Kickstarter has been canceled. It is no longer on Kickstarter. They had a choice, either make the film with low budget and or to, you know, really pursue the amount that they need in order to make it a fantastic film, and that's what they're doing. So if you visit reclaimingtheblade.com, you can see a whole list of, you know, ways you can help out. I mean, it's not just financial. Obviously, you know, it's anything you can do, whether you can contribute something, whether you can, you know, blast it out socially on your social feeds, or just, you know, tell friends. I mean, any little bit helps to get it out. And I just, one of the things that really captured me when I first, you know, met Galatia Films and the things that they were working with was just their passion for really reclaiming the blade. You know, they're just so passionate about kind of preserving that history. And like I said, I love history, and so anything to preserve that and to study what we have had in our past, I think is just fantastic. So reclaimingtheblade.com, people, that's where you should go if you want to help continue, or if you had participated in the Kickstarter, if you had bought one of the packages, backed as they call it on Kickstarter, that has fallen through. So if you still want to help out, definitely go to reclaimingtheblade.com, and a lot of the packages that they offered for Kickstarter are on that as well. So you can still get cool stuff. I think there's one in there for like a Reclaiming the Blade Day sword or something, like a particular sword, which would be so cool, collector's item. One of these days I'll be able to afford a collector sword. It will be awesome. But anyways, moving right along. Since we're talking about films, I wonder if any of you have a film that you are, you know, particular favorite. Any film scene, sword fighting scene that you just love, or are there any that you look at and you just cringe and you're like, oh gosh, what is going on? There's got to be some. Rob, you're laughing. Let's hear it.
I'm just wondering how long you got. There's some really horrific stuff out there.
Oh, come on, dish it out.
No, I mean, a lot of stuff good. Say again?
Game of Thrones, that's the worst.
Oh, and I watched
it.
that too. What is it? Tell me. What are they doing?
They're nothing. That's what they're doing. No, it's horrible. They spend so much money on actors and stuff and castles and everything, and nothing on swordsmanship. It's, you know, I was watching it. I'm not going to spoil anything for everyone, but during this particular duel, I had to pause it meanwhile to unleash my rage on Facebook about how incredibly bad it was, and then just continue watching. It's horrible.
Oh,
it's a good series otherwise, but you know, fighting-wise, it's nothing.
Terrible.
See, I get banned from saying things now because somebody will come and say, what are they doing? What the hell's that? I get, shut up, Dad. And they really don't want to know. Doctor Who or something.
Oh no, Doctor Who! I'm a fan of Doctor Who. Oh.
Favorite one is either Duelists by Ridley Scott, which is just fantastic, or probably it's going to have to be The Princess Bride.
Oh yes.
Of course it is, Rob. It's always The Princess Bride, isn't it? You can probably quote it by heart, can't you?
Yeah, but I'm not going to.
No. Now we have to get you to say something for sure. Put you on the spot for real. That is definitely one of my favorite films. I love that. The scenes that they have are just fantastic. I mean, watching that, oh gosh, yeah, definitely a favorite film. I own that. Good times. So come on, you have to say what ones you don't like.
What we don't like? That's a lot, isn't it? I will probably never ever forget a scene. I think it was the Three Musketeers, the Disney one, with Kiefer Sutherland and stuff like that. When D'Artagnan throws his rapier through a lot of water and hits an assassin. That was brilliant. Not. No, but I think there's a lot of that sword fighting in films. But come on, that just enhance the story. I mean, we don't really expect to see proper sword fighting in the movies, do we? Rob mentioned the duelists. Now, those are super cool sword fights. Maybe even some moves from Rob Roy.
Oh, okay.
With Team Roth, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about McGregor here. I would definitely go with Tim Roth. Yeah, he's my man. But as I say, I mean, I've been involved with theater productions, and I learned pretty quickly that the sword fights in there are not to be proper sword fights. They're just there to add a bit more color. To add to the atmosphere, and that we really shouldn't look about the quality of fighting. I mean, the real fighting, it would be probably very, very boring to watch. A lot of disengagements, a lot of standing out of the distance, quick attacks, even quicker recoveries. You know, that wouldn't be good for Hollywood, I'd say.
Aiming for the wrist instead of the sword.
Do what?
When you can block a sword, you can also block someone's wrist instead of the sword, which ends the fight a bit quicker. So on the list of stuff that makes movie boring but will work.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about the reality rather than that. I mean, one of the Bolognese treatises by Gabriele Mangelino, he's saying target the hand. And a lot of people say target the hand. To get a hit in the hand, people will say ow and then get their sword. Doesn't look great for Hollywood, where you're wanting to see lots of flashing blades and something through the chest, and they recite Shakespeare as they cark it over the next 5 minutes. But the reality is that, and as Roman says, I mean, a good duel will have 5 minutes of people looking at each other and just moving around, and then maybe a little bit of very cautious engagement. It's not the it's not the flashing blades that one would expect, or one would hope for entertainment.
Right. It has to have a lot more. I know. I showed my son one of the clips from Pirates of the Caribbean where, like, Jack Sparrow and Will Turner are fighting in the
Captain
first
Jack
meet.
Sparrow,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Captain, that's right. Nice catch. And he was just so fascinated by that whole thing. And so I came back from my German longsword class. I'm like, okay, these are the moves that I'm learning, the plow, the this, the that, I'm telling him all these things. And I was like, want to try some? You want to learn some? And he looked at me and he goes, I already know this stuff. And I was like, oh? And he's like, yes, watch this. And he just continues to do this type thing, all over. And I'm like, okay, that'll be fine. This is how it's done. It was awesome.
This is one of the tricks we as instructors we've got to latch onto. It's very easy to be quite snobby and say, you don't do it like that. What are you doing? It's stupid. Now we are now going to spend the next 20 weeks just doing foot mechanics, something like that. We need to take that enthusiasm and that joy that comes from the entertainment and we transfer that. Which,
yes.
Particularly talking about longsword and the Lord of the Rings scenes and so on, you have to take that entertainment and really transfer that into something. And then when you see people like Tees and Roman doing longsword, you see something very exciting in reality, which is away from the entertainment, but it's transferred there.
I can agree 100% on that for sure. I mean, I totally agree with that. There are so many people that, are coming into this, coming into just really enjoying the blade because they've seen it on Hollywood. You're right, and definitely one of the main reasons that I got involved was because I was just so welcomed in everyone that I've met. I mean, all the groups. I mean, I'm just, come, you're interested, come on, and we'll teach you for free, and here, have a training sword. And I was just blown away by the kindness and the generosity and just the welcoming feeling that I've had all around. So, well done, guys. For sure. Yeah, we have the same thing. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just trying to add to this what Rob was saying. Yeah, we need to hold on to the motivation and enthusiasm, especially as we are actually learning and training an art that nowadays has lost its main purpose. We don't learn about self-defense anymore. I mean, we're not walking down the street and being attacked by muggers with tools and blades. We need to retain the motivation and entertainment part of it. Otherwise, we might, well, interest less people than we do.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you all feel like there's more of an interest now than there has been?
Well, it's maybe easier for people to reach somewhere where they can actually do sword fighting or anything else. Whereas in the beginning it was harder to find a group to train with, and now it's growing. So people also advertise more, and new things are starting up. We also have a kids class. And at some point, we joined an organization in Haarlem where they go to schools and kids can sign up for a 4-week course of any kind of sports. And we've had over 30 kids come to join our short workshops. And we now have a group of 15, 16 kids who regularly train. And this is for us a new way to reach out to another audience, and been working out pretty well so far.
That's awesome, definitely. I think, like you said, I didn't even know there were groups around me. I thought for sure Raleigh, what would be in Raleigh, North Carolina. I just didn't think it was accessible. And when I found out that there was a HEMA group in my area, I was just overwhelmed. I was so excited. I never thought that would be something I could obtain. I thought I would have to fly to Europe, which, hey, I wouldn't mind doing, but it was just, we can't do that every weekday. So, I don't know. Perhaps social media has helped that along, more the word is out, people are on social media and they can, find out about these things. I don't know.
Certainly,
go ahead.
things like Facebook as well as just internet sites and so on has helped a lot. I think really though the problem we have is perhaps one of perception. Certainly in the UK, we may either be seen as sports fencers, which and by the way, sports fencing is a very exciting, dynamic sport. Whatever some people may say, HEMA people don't have a problem with sports fencing, but we get seen as them, and we get seen as reenactors, and we're not. We're martial artists, and I think one of our problems is, yes, we've got the new media and we can get the message out there, but until you get people through the door, we still have this issue with perception. So though whilst the accessibility of the clubs might be out there, I'm not so sure that we've yet won the battle over perception.
Okay. What about you, Ronan? Oh, did we lose you? Well, we might have lost him.
I think I just bored him to death. He's just passed out.
I can go ahead and talk about my kids. That's usually very entertaining. But
Oh yeah, well, one thing, then I'll just take my turn. Well, something I can add to this is that we do a lot of show fights. We do we do show fights as you see in movies and such, but then with historical techniques. And we used to do them in full plate armor and on fair events and on that kind of stuff. And slowly we're changing that to doing them more and more in sports clothing instead of full plate armor. Because the problem is the moment you're wearing armor, you are a knight, and that's all you are. And if you do some fancy techniques, usually people come to us after a demonstration because we tend to do a fight and then show several techniques. And usually we get the comments like, hey, you have that from Aiki Hapto or whatever the hell they talk about. And then we have to explain them that it's actually much more than just playing a knight in armor. So we're trying more and more to present ourselves as martial artists with sports clothing and training weapons and actual weapons, and take the stuff with us to show that we're way more than just reenactment. And nothing wrong with your reenactment, but it's a whole different setup.
Yeah.
And also, whenever I go to a bar and people ask me what I do, and I say sword fighting, they immediately refer to orcs and elves and ears you put on your head. And I have to then explain for 15 minutes that it's actually a martial art I'm doing, and I don't wear an elf outfit or whatever. And that's something that we as AMEC really try to look over the top sports. We have our sports outfits, we have our sword bags that actually say sword sports, and we try to really bring this as the martial art that it could be or might be.
I mean, that's something that's quite always interests me, is that if someone sees you training with a Japanese sword, they'll accept that as a martial art. They'll think that's completely fine. As soon as they see you with a Western, you're either a fencer or a reenactor, or you're fighting goblins or something. So it's quite a strange split.
So these that would fall under really those preconceived notions that people have, and the perceptions that you were talking about earlier, that you come in, I mean, and I can speak that for myself because I didn't know, and I definitely I wonder if that's something that perhaps in the second film of Galatia Films, the Sons of Fire, if they would touch on that, on the on those preconceived notions and things like that, and just kind of get the word out about what it's really about.
Yeah, I don't think it's an overriding problem. I just think it's easier to demonstrate to people, as T said, if you're in modern kit and showing, modern techniques, using the same mechanics as any other martial art does, because we've all got the same body, we have to use the body in the same way, so of course we're going to use the same mechanics. But also, it's not until you actually get someone in the salle, in the training area, and they get to have a play, that I think they can really understand the difference and really enjoy what's going on and see where it's not. Like some of the other ways. Which is cool, by the way. I don't want to end up with enemies after that.
Hi, I'm back. Sorry.
Hey.
Welcome back.
I lost you guys somewhere there. I just hope I won't repeat anything you've just said. But about the perception, a lot of it is in the PR, isn't it? I mean, the Eastern martial arts got a lot of good PR with the films. Through the 20th century, you have a lot of the samurai thing, and you have a lot of the Hong Kong thing, and it does build up certain perception in people. Hello.
Yes, you're good.
Yeah. So I'm not saying we should make tons of bad films. I'm just saying that we will be back. We'll be back, as Arnold would say. With our perception of martial arts, and I think we can communicate that either through kids. I mean, well done, Tees. I mean, well done, because it takes a lot of nerves of steel to work with kids. I'll grant you that.
I know, I can attest.
Yeah, I mean, myself, I'm like Bernard Black from that Black Book series. He owned a bookshop,
right,
but couldn't. But just couldn't handle the customers coming in, yeah? He wanted to be left alone reading books, drinking and smoking. So something like that. I'm pretty much the same thing, I really don't want to work with people in trainings. No, I'm kidding. I do. I love them. No, but I'm saying we have to work hard and get good PR out, and we will change the perception. I mean, that's how it goes.
Definitely.
Yeah, at the moment we're also working on several films. One of our instructors just came back from Italy to work on a film there. We've done a kiddies movie once a while ago, and so I think films and movies and games maybe even is a good way to slowly reach out to the audience. To show that there's more than just Japanese or Eastern martial arts.
Right, yeah, I know that gaming is definitely something that Galatia is wanting to pursue for the next film, Sons of Fire, because you know, I don't know if you've watched some of the previous shows, Sword Talk shows. You know, there was one, I guess, that they've had on before who was so inspired. I mean, he was just one of those guys that, you know, gaming was his life. He was overweight. He didn't, you know, he was kind of stuck in a hole, and he stopped off, you know, at his local, I think it was a HEMA group, and began training, and now he's, I mean, you know, now he's the trainer, and it just really, that link from games, you know, from, you know, playing games with swords to going into, you know, becoming a trainer is just, you know, it was a really inspiring story, and I think for sure there's, you know, definitely a connection there, and it's great to, you know, kind of be open to those folks coming in from all different walks of life, and, you know, and introducing them to, you know, new things. So one of the next question, and actually this is going to be our last question because we're almost out of time, is why you think it's important to preserve sword history. What is so important about that in your perspective? Roman, let's start with you.
Do we need to ask that question? I mean, really, honestly. No, I'm kidding. Sorry. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I'm going to call Fabrice Cognot, and he answered because it's cool. But the more serious answer would be it's part of our martial tradition, it is part of our history. It is so very well connected to one's mind, to one's body, to one's perception of the environment they live in. And it's a very good sport. It's a very physical activity, mental activity, and it does develop people. I mean, since I've been working with the blades, with HEMA, I've seen many people developing in a very nice and good way. I mean, mentally and physically. So just keep on doing it. Even a historical fact is that the art of defense was once considered a part of an urban person's education. So, you know, we can sort of bring it back a bit. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't mind bringing back the values of good sportsmanship, of honesty, of decency, even humility a bit. But no, don't let me become too philosophical about it. Maybe it's not the right place.
Not at all. That's good. Definitely good values to have. How about you, Rob?
Well, I actually see that we're continuing things, so I don't see that we've actually finished our history. And I think what we have is a martial form that's continually evolving. So we're not just reading dusty books and trying to recreate the techniques. We can't be the individuals who wrote those books at the time. You know, physically we're not the same, mentally we're not the same. We have our own ways of movement. So we take these techniques and we apply them into our modern world. It keeps us fit. It gives us joy. So that's the one thing. I also think as a martial form, it's probably one of the few martial arts for me that allows parity with everyone, size, gender, whatever, through the skill and technique of this. So it's a very positive thing to take forward into the world by taking this knowledge that we've got, a huge amount, this corpus of knowledge that we're weighed down with, and being able to take that and enliven it in a fresh modern martial art with modern athletic techniques, and for it to be applicable right across the board to all sorts of different people, and just be able to go forward with that. On the other side as well, it's cool. You're standing there with a sword in your hand, facing down your enemy, and it's cool. You can't deny it. You know, you can get anyone who goes in there with a gun or a baseball bat and just be a thug. This is something that requires skill and technique and finesse, and one day I may understand a teeny tiny bit of it, but that's what it is it's cool. And
it's cool. I like that. That's going to be my quote of the day. Swords are cool. How about you, Tees?
Well, first of all, of course, I have to agree with the swords are cool thing. That's just there's no arguing with that. But
We need
otherwise,
a T-shirt.
yeah, we do. No, but I think that it's generally a shame that a lot of Western people have no idea about their own background, whereas they know everything about something which is hundreds of kilometers away. And we face a lot of people, they know all kinds of stuff from other cultures, but they have no idea what we had ourselves. And that's also something I think it's important that as a history teacher, I want everything to stay alive, to stay with people, and also for swordsmanship, there's so much more that we as Europeans had that a lot of people have never thought about that existed here, and I think this is one of the ways to keep that going. And of course, certain things we will never experience that they did. I mean, an actual duel. We can only go so far that we put on fencing kit and hit each other, and that's where it ends. But it's still, I think, important to understand certain reasons behind certain things. And as Roman also said, I think the way of doing things and the way of treating certain situations, people might actually learn something from that. Because people tend to look too far away. There's much more next door. That's as good, as important.
Definitely. Well said, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us. This has been fun. I really enjoy having these sword talks and meeting so many great, fascinating people. You guys it's just been an honor, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your Saturday to come on Sword Talks. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
For those of you who tuned in today, we are on swordtalks.com. It's still a work in progress, but it's going to get there. We're also on Facebook, so just go to Facebook, look up Sword Talks. And for all things Reclaiming the Blade, go to reclaimingtheblade.com. And I believe that's it. You guys have a wonderful Saturday. And yes, this concludes the broadcast. Have a good time, everyone. Bye.